Hello, my name's Jo Crowson and I am the Director of Income Generation for the Watford Community Fund. Welcome back to yet another discussion. Today's is titled, I should be reporting the news, not making it. So today I'm talking about collaborations that supported our community during the pandemic. And I am absolutely delighted to be joined by Nik Allen, founder and publisher of My Local News, and also a personal friend of mine. Nik, I'm really delighted to see you, and thank you for joining me and W3RT today. My Local News, been around for a long time. I don't mean that disparagingly. You've always been a great supporter of the local community, and you were very quick to offer help when the pandemic struck. Why?
Well, we just wanted to do everything we could to help you guys and any other sort of charities that were looking for support at that time. It was a case of we also had sort of time on our hands here as well with the magazines. We published magazines right throughout the pandemic, but we also had a bit of time on our hands as well. So we also did our own little campaign as well, where we were asking people if they needed help to call us. But when we had the rallying calls from yourself, we just felt obliged to help as much as we possibly could. So it was quite an easy request to facilitate, to be honest with you.
Fabulous, absolutely fabulous, and we were really, really grateful. I know that you found out we were doing the parcels for delivery to vulnerable and elderly people, so you went shopping.
We did indeed.
So playing cards, wonderful. Colouring books, colouring pencils, really, really helped. They didn't need just food. They needed something to be able to keep them busy and occupied. So that was absolutely wonderful. And none of us were surprised that you've done it. You've just supported so many people over the years. You've supported the Watford Community Fund over the years. You've given us free advertising for our events. You've come along and done interviews. You've promoted the services. So we're really, really grateful to My Local News and you. What surprised us more than anything was, having done that and having supported us with the items for the parcels, you disappeared. We never heard from you and we couldn't contact you. And I was really worried. I thought, oh, have we done something wrong? Where were you, Nik?
In bed bound for 10 days or so, and then
sorry, Nik, you just froze there. Can we try that one again?
I was bed bound for 8 or 9 days or so, and then I went and had a week at the at Watford General Hospital. So I obviously couldn't let this bug go by without having it myself. Yes, I had my little corona ordeal. So it wasn't fun, but
you're here.
I'm a survivor, thankfully.
So this is you making the news.
Indeed.
And then being able to report on the news and telling everybody actually what it was like at the coalface, what it was like in the hospital. Can you share some of it with me?
Yeah, ironically, we didn't actually report on it here. I was keeping it sort of, I did my bit on social media and so forth. From my personal social media, but as a company we weren't reporting it until the Watford Observer wanted to report on it. So I was quite surprised they wanted to report on it, being a rival publication and all that. But they did, so we subsequently had to put it into our magazines as well. But do you want the detail? You want the details of it?
Yes. Yes, please. I do want the details.
Ironically, it all happened just after the day after lockdown, when Boris did his talk to the nation, and the next day I started feeling really rough. Flu-like symptoms, and I felt like very weak, very lethargic, and I just wanted to literally stay in bed. And And that went on for day after day after day. It was quite, you know, and I was being my normal optimistic self. It can't be, you know, the coronavirus. It must be just flu and all that stuff. But you know, over the sort of the 8-9 days, I progressively got worse, but I didn't have any of the obvious symptoms. I didn't really have a temperature. I didn't have a continuous cough, and I didn't really have a sore throat of any substance. I just felt aches and pains. What I did have, which was quite baffling for me, and it took me down another road of sort of investigating it, you know, through Dr. Google, was excessive thirst. I was really, really thirsty, and I would drink a pint of water, and then minutes later want to drink another pint of water again. So I was a little bit concerned. So my daughter, when she was 12, Chelsea, she had type 1 diabetes diagnosed. And I remember one of her symptoms of that was excessive thirst. So I started going down that route. So although I was bedbound at home, I got one of the girls from the office to go to the pharmacy and get me a diabetic testing kit. And she subsequently left at my front door and tested, and I was fine. My blood sugars were all fine. So and I kind of wanted it in one way because I wanted to sort of make sure it wasn't corona. But in hindsight, I'm glad I didn't get it, because obviously it's you know, a lot. You know, I'd have it for life pretty much. But so it carried on, and I just said I could sleep for England. I was sleeping, and I'm not a sleeper. I'm a sort of 6-7 hours at best if I'm lucky, and I was sleeping 15-16 hours a day. So I knew things weren't right, and I probably knew it wasn't flu at the back of my head, but I carried on kidding myself that it was all these other bits and pieces other than. And then I think I was on the Thursday. So this was, I got bedridden on the Wednesday. So the following Thursday, day 8, I guess it was, Mike Cole called me to see how I was. And he said to me, "My God, you sound really rough. You sound rough." And I said, "Well, I don't feel great." He said, "Your breathing's quite heavy." And I hadn't noticed that before, you know, when I was because I'm at home on my own. And and I said, right, okay. So I started to think about my breathing a bit more. And he said, "Look, go and do so." I said, "No, I'll see how I am tomorrow." Or something. I was procrastinating about doing anything. And you know, and anyway, I don't think any of the health services are interested at that stage anyway, because I was fine and I was be able to manage how I was at home anyway. But the next day I was quite conscious, because he'd obviously put it into my head. I was quite conscious the next day I was feeling worse, and he called me, as he said he would, on the Friday morning, and he said to me, "You actually sound like Darth Vader." And he said, "You sound dreadful." So he said, "Look, phone 999 and just see what they say," because that was the spiel at the time. So and I also spoke to my doctor. I got a private doctor who I get advice from, and he said exactly the same thing. He said, "Just phone 999." So I did, and within 40 minutes they'd sent an ambulance for me. They came round, took me oxygen readings, which weren't good. I think they were sort of like 87 or 88 or something like that, which isn't good apparently. And they whisked me off as fast as they could to Watford General, which alarmed me a little bit, because I was still, you know, I'll be all right, and you know, very positive and all that kind of stuff. And in fact, the paramedic said, "You're probably back tonight at home." I thought, "Oh, that's fine, happy with that." And I went in the hospital, and they sort of shoved the oxygen mask in my face and resus, and started sticking all sorts of bits and pieces into me. And they started giving me antibiotics. I was quite surprised about that, because I didn't think they could treat you for it. But what I found out later was the antibiotics was to fight anything else going on in my body at that time.
Yeah.
So you know, your body could just concentrate on dealing with you know, this virus that they obviously thought that I subsequently had. So you know, so they wired me up to all these drip machines and bits and various other bits and pieces. And I was never alarmed at that stage. I was still quite happy. You know, I had my phone in one hand, I was texting away, and you know, then as the day went on, even though I had the oxygen, I started feeling a bit worse, and I was in resus for about 18 hours until the early hours of I think it must have been Saturday morning. And they then eventually took me up to the respiratory. Well, I thought it was a COVID ward, but it was the respiratory ward. And I got up there in the early hours. I think it was about 3:30, 4 o'clock. was up there, and I thought, you know, I was settling in, and then all hell let loose on the next bed next to me, but after about an hour or so, and the guy in the next bed was really struggling, and they were trying to deal with him for 20-30 minutes. They left, you know, they were dealing with him, they closed the curtains obviously, and they're dealing with him in his bed, and sadly he passed away, and he had a heart condition. So I think he had what I picked up from him, a heart attack, as well as obviously dealing with COVID, and that was my sort of reality check in a way. Stop being flippant. You know, you probably got this dreaded disease. Now start taking it seriously, and you know, and all this. Not that I could do much about it, to be fair. And that's where I stayed for another 2 or 3 days in that ward. And I got my dark day came the day after, and the cough came, and the cough with the breathlessness was just a lethal cocktail, because your breath is here. You can't go down to your lungs. It's like stuck in your throat, and your cough's in your throat as well. And if I can sort of say it, it's like dry drowning. Do you know what I mean? Where you feel you're gasping for air and you're coughing at the same time. And these coughs, you know, I have these coughs, you know, numerous occasions, but some of the worst spells lasted 30, 40 minutes. You know, and it was just non-stop, and you're just so tired. Your stomach muscles, it was just sweating profusely. It was a bad day. It was about 48 hours those were, but I still had a good mind. I mean, I felt good in myself, if you know what I mean. If that doesn't sound contradictory, you know, I felt I'm gonna be okay. But then I started thinking about the guy next to me, you know, the night or two before. And I thought, am I, you know, what stage was he at? And, you know, am I yet to get to that stage where he suffered badly, you know, and obviously, you know, tragically, you know, passed away. So it was the Saturday and Sunday that were my bad moments in there. And what I realized was any movement I made, you know, when I was lying in my bed, if I sort of sat up to get a glass of water or lunch or dinner or whatever, that's what instigated the cough starting. That's what encouraged any movement, and it started. And the frightening thing was you didn't know how long it was going to last for. It wasn't like a normal cough where you just cough it out, and 20-30 seconds later you're fine. It was just continuous, and it didn't ever feel like it was going to stop. Do you know what I mean? So that was my thing. So I just tried to lie motionless in my bed. Still texting occasionally, trying to keep sanity. But you know, that was that. And then slowly I start on, you know, I think it's probably the Monday or the Tuesday, I started to feel a bit better. But things like going to the bathroom was, you know, I was in Heronsgate ward. The bathroom was about 10, 12 meters away from my bed. But going there was, I had to plan it. I thought, right, okay, I've got to go. Let me get out of bed really slowly. I felt I was like 100 years old because I was trying to make my movements all the things so I didn't bring on the cough, and I'd have to stop. And it was just for something, you know, that seemed so simple. It was just difficult. It was just difficult to do. Do you know what I mean? So, and then I got my days mixed up, but it's probably day 4, 3 or 4 on the Monday or Tuesday. These 3 nurses came to me, and I thought, threesome. No, I didn't.
Thank you. We'll edit that.
My fantasies have come true. Leave that in. Brings a bit of fun to it. And they came and they said, "Look, I need to tell you that we've actually your tests have come back, and you've actually got the coronavirus." And I thought, right, okay, it wasn't exactly a surprise, but we need to move you. Okay. Because you know, you feel quite comfortable in your surroundings, although no one was talking about it, because obviously everyone's got oxygen masks on, so there's no conversation going on. No one can visit you, so you did feel very alone. Do you know what I mean? And thankfully, my one saving was my phone. You know? So they moved me, and they took me to a ward I'd never heard of before, and I was getting a little bit worried. You know, why can't I just stay where I was? You know, and why move me and all that sort of stuff. So they took me to a ward called Vineyard Ward, and yeah, so they're wheeling me through the bowels of Watford General Hospital to somewhere I'd never known existed there. And another sort of, I don't know, does anybody want my harrowing moments or not? So I think,
Yes, I do, because I think that the people that see this video need to understand.
well,
there are people that we still need to get the message to.
Yeah, well, it was one of my sort of, I don't know, dark moments. It only passed by briefly, but it was another man wake up. You know, it's another wake up call as regards, you know, where we're at and how it was, and you know what was going on. And I came out this lift, and I was trying to talk to the guy, whatever you call whatever you call these people that push you around the wheelchairs, not janitor, but you know, whatever he was. But I wanted some conversation, and he wouldn't talk to me. And I think he was, you know, I'm not sure he was English or whatever, but he just wouldn't talk. And I thought, oh, okay, where am I going? What's this all about? Never been here before. I was trying to get coming. He wouldn't talk to me. And as I'm coming out the lift, this bed is trying to come into the lift from this, come out this ward and coming towards the lift. And I thought, all right. And you could feel, I couldn't see the guy behind me, but I could see the guy in front. And they had that look at each other. They sort of looked at an awkward stare, I could feel it being. And the bed went back, and then he let me out, and I passed him going the wing. But as I'm passing to go past the bed, I see a body bag, a black body bag zipped up on the side of his bed. And I thought, oh my God. So I was a bit worried about where I was going. Why couldn't I stay where I was? And then I was going to this ward in the middle of nowhere, which I'd never even heard of for all my time visiting Watford General Hospital. And then I saw a body bag come out, and I thought, you know, and it was that sort of, you start to work yourself up a little bit in your mind sort of thing. Like, you know, although on one side I'm really being positive, I'm fine, I feel better than I was. But it was that sort of, it pushed me back a little bit for a moment. And then I go into the ward and I see only one empty bed. And I thought, oops. You know what I mean? But from that moment forth, things did get better. I went in there. It was a lovely ward. It was very modern, and I think it's normally a day unit or something. I've been led to believe, whether it's for the elderly or what, I don't know. But they'd made it into a ward, and it was the official coronavirus ward there that they had, and it was nice, big bright windows, nice and modern. All the nurses' stations were in the middle of the ward. So there was a lot of although you couldn't talk still, because obviously you still got your oxygen mask on as everyone else, and everyone looked very sick around me. There was a lot of activity going on, so that sort of, you know, it sort of kept your mind busy, you know, just active. I like being around, you know, I like being around busy people and things going on and activity and all that sort of stuff. And the good thing there, the toilet was nearer my bed. So the challenge had lessened somewhat. And then I was there for another 2 or 3 more days. And then slowly, I didn't need so much oxygen, and they let me out.
Okay. But that's scary.
But the day they let me out, I still felt awful. They said you can go home now because you don't need the oxygen. But I was still awful. You know, one of my friends, you know, picked me up, and you know, and he said, when you got in my car that day, he said, you just looked awful, absolutely awful. You looked like a really old man. Do you know what I mean? And when I went home, you know, I went home because I live on my own, and that probably for 2 weeks at least afterwards, thinking back, I can't remember it, or very, very, very vague. You know, and I lost loads of weight in there, and subsequently afterwards. Soon put it back on when I found that I had an appetite for Jaffa cakes. But yeah, it's just very vague. And then also, you know, the road back to normality has been a real struggle. It had been. And it's only, where we're now, October, it's probably only in the last month, probably since the end of August, beginning of September, and I came out early April, that I've started to feel normal again. And I mean normal, I mean, and I've got my energy back now.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
You know, do you want to ask me anything? I keep talking.
Well, I just think how scary for you, how scary for everybody, yeah. and to witness what you witnessed.
Well,
Yeah.
I still think, I don't think, I had a couple of moments where, the bad thing was, I think the guy next to me that sadly died, and the black bag I saw coming out of the ward and the bed I was in, they were sort of like wake up moments of how serious it was. But in my head, I still was really positive, and I think that was because I had a lot of people texting me, and I had a lot of funny messages sent to me, and that kept me sane. If I didn't have my phone, I think I'd have been on a bit more of a downer. But that kept my sanity. That my kids were talking to me. They were sending me messages and FaceTime bits and pieces and videos and bits. So that kept me really upbeat. And I think that was really important. That you didn't have the visitors, but you had your family and friends and all that. Sending stuff, which was good.
Yeah, because they still can't have visitors down there now, can they?
I don't believe so.
No.
I don't believe so. Yeah. But what shocked me was how long it's taken to get normal again. And I'd say 2 or 3 weeks after I came out, I started to try going, walking, just keeping active. And Liz here is a good friend of ours. She used to be a respiratory nurse, and she gave me breathing exercises to keep doing. My private doctor called me, the one who sort of told me to sort of get in to the hospital, as well as Mike. He called me a week after, and he said to me, "Nick, 2 things I need you to do. 1, I need you to behave like you've never had it before, and don't be blasé and think you've got loads of antibodies. And 2, he said, I want you to come in here and get a scan as soon as things are back to normal. And we're doing scans, CT scans, whatever the scan they do, because we want to have a look at your lungs, because the evidence so far is that it can do permanent lung damage to you, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean?"
Yeah.
I haven't had that done yet. I'm going back to Bupa for a full man medical in 3 weeks' time. But I've started running again and those sort of bits and pieces. So I know I'm feeling, I'm running, not that I run, I jog. I walk quickly. It's power walk probably more to most people. But I'm getting my lungs going, and I'm as good as doing that as I was before. So I feel quite happy about that. But the energy, it was just that I'd get home from work. I went back to work a month or so after I came out, and I was just tired. Come 6 o'clock at night, I literally wanted to go to bed. So it just zapped me energy, and it zapped it for a long time. As I say, 4 or 5 months at least. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that is definitely not you, not the person I know anyway. So incredible.
No.
What did you think of the NHS when you were in there?
Unbelievable. The staff, from whether it was just the catering staff or the people changing your bed, or all these bits and pieces. Obviously, the doctors, the nurses. Just, I can't speak highly enough. I'm just absolutely outstanding. There's not one negative point. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That I could say about it. They were just out of this world. And the first Thursday after I came out, and I went outside, my front door to, for the Thursday applause. I had tears rolling down my eyes, and I'm not, I'm not that emotional sometimes, and it just sort of really got me then, of how grateful I was, for their support. And I had, when I had my coughing fits in there, and it wasn't stopping, I just have a nurse, sitting on the end of my bed, just wiping my sweating brow or holding my hand and just talking to me. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Do you know what I mean? And just that psychological support, because they can't do a lot. They can't do a lot for you. They can give you regular medication they were doing to keep everything under control and your liquids, but other than that, there's not a lot they can do. So it was just marvelous, absolutely marvelous. So, it was my birthday. It was my birthday not long after I came out, which delighted me, by the way, because unbelievably I hit the big 6-0, and I wasn't happy about that at all. I didn't want any fuss made about it. The team at work here were going to put on all sorts of celebrations for me, which I was going to dread. I wanted it to pass by silently. Unfortunately, it did. But what I did do, I made NHS nurses my charity, and we raised, or my friends donating and so forth. Even your kind self, Gillian,
Yes.
donating. We got a 4-figure sum in the end to it, so that made me very proud and very
Yeah.
pleased as well, sort of thing. Like, do you know what I mean? But they'll always, that hospital and the staff will always have a very big place in my heart.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I have friends who work within the NHS, you know that, and I heard stories from them, and just amazing, amazing people.
And other people as well. Chris Luff, who you know,
Yeah,
and I can't remember Chris's charity or whatever he was doing it through, whether it's just through the chamber or the Chamber of Conscience or whatever.
yeah. I think it was the COVID-19 appeal that he was doing
Right.
it through.
Again, he was phoning me all the time to see, right, we're doing our Meals on Wheels. He said, what do you want me to bring you? Where are you going to be? And that. And there's one day, it was a sunny day, and I was just sitting in the park getting some fresh air, and he came to the park and he brought me a shepherd's pie or something, I think it was, and, you know, a cold drink and whatever. And it was just, you know, people like that. And that happened. There were other people that helped me in those ways as well. And I was sort of, no, I'm not old, I don't need this help, sort of thing. But also, you know, I'm a man living on my own, and it was nice to have that sort of support. And no people were there, sort of thing. You know what I mean? So, you know, for giving to charities for so much over the years, it was nice to be on the receiving end of a little bit as well.
Absolutely,
So,
yeah, absolutely. Okay,
so that was good.
so so moving on, you are back at work now, which is absolutely wonderful. And like I say, I'm really, really pleased to see you and see you looking well. But what have you done since? Have you done anything? Or have you just COVID, you've gone, I'll get on with my life?
Pretty much. But where I have the attitude, it's changed my attitude on a number of things. But my attitude was, I love my work. I love working here and doing what we do, and you know, I take immense pride in what we do. Yeah, I'm very proud of it. However, my thing was that, you know, they'll take me out of here in my, you know, my box when I'm, you know, my day comes. I'll you know, and I never want to stop working. However, in recent days, my outlook, or you know, since COVID and so forth, my outlook has changed completely. And now we are looking at an exit plan. We are looking at, you know, Nik Allen Jr. taking over the business, or getting more involved in the business. So it's ready for him to sort of take over the reins fully in a few years' time. So he's going to start coming to the business now regularly. He does magazines over in Essex. He does our franchise magazines that we do over there. So he's in the business anyway as it is. So he's going to come and see how it works and the different dynamic of it all. And slowly I'll start to take a bit more of a backseat and start to enjoy life a bit more away from my news towers.
Okay,
you know.
I can find you a role. I can find you many roles.
I keep getting offered roles, by the way. Can I go and help this and help that? And that's something I probably would like to do, you know, more casually once I get away from the 90 miles an hour of here. You know, I love the seaside, so Brighton's very close to my heart, as you know.
Yeah.
So I've been spending a bit more time down there. I've started writing a book.
Oh.
Yeah, a business book. Not that the world needs another business book, but this is going to be a business book with a difference. So I'll keep the title to myself at the moment. It's a little. It's an 18. It's a rated 18. The title. So certainly doing that. Looking to do a bit more traveling. Just, you know, and just doing more and enjoying my grandchildren more and having more time for my own children. Because in this fast, furious world, you sometimes, you know, you're in the fast lane and you forget sometimes about family, and you don't give as much time as you probably should. So those are the things I've been doing. You know, I've got 4 grandchildren now, and spending more time with them. And another thing we did here, because as I said to you at the beginning, we carried on publishing magazines right through COVID. But on the financials, we had to react to that. So I cut them down to a 4-day week, which subsequently saved us, 20%. So they were working 4 days, and they got really used to the 4 days. So when we're coming back to normal, they wanted to look at ways where, and I wanted to look at ways as well for them, because well-being became to the forefront of my mind as regards, one, myself, and two, the team. So we looked at changing the working hours. Could we carry on once the magazines were back to not full normal with all the advertisers back? Because we obviously lost some advertisers during it, certainly in May we did. So we looked at seeing whether we could have Fridays off. And it's not quite possible to, but what we now do, they work 4.5 days. So they work Monday to Thursday, 8 till 5:30. And then Fridays, they work 8 till 12. And I insist that 1 minute past 12, no one is in the building, that they go and they have their sort of long weekend. And that's certainly come good. Another thing that's come good out of this as well.
Yeah.
Thinking about the staff and their well-being and so forth.
That is really good.
Yeah. And the other thing I've done, which I never thought would happen, Gillian, I became a vegan.
I'd heard the rumours.
Yes. Yeah.
So how are you coping on that one then?
Well, again, it's COVID related. About 2 or 3 months ago, because I was stressed. I was not stressing. I was worried about the fatigue, and I thought, is this just post-COVID? It's fine, and if it's all part of the process of the road to recovery, then that's fine. I can understand that and I can accept that. However, I was thinking, if I had something else wrong with me, if I had an underlying condition, if I had a thyroid problem or whatever, I'm just putting everything down to COVID, feeling exhausted in the evenings, So I phoned the doctor for a blood test, because I'd had a blood test for my well man thing, 10 months before or whatever it was. So they had bloods to compare how I was and how I was now. And he said, we'll come in for a blood test tomorrow, but come and have an appointment with me the following week. He said, I'd also said to him, my sister sadly died at 62. Obviously, I'm heading in that direction. Most people in my family struggle in their 60s, well, don't get to their 70s ultimately. And I'm trying to be the pioneer to get to the big 7-0. So I spoke to him about it. And he said, look, before you come and see me next week, and he'd heard about, I told him about my family history and all that sort of stuff. So he said to me, you probably need to start thinking about making changes and and all that kind of stuff. So he said, before you come and see me next week, he said, watch this movie on Netflix called Forks Over Knives. Forks Over Knives. So I did. It was an 1.5-hour documentary on Netflix. And subsequently, I watched The Game Changers as well, another one. And haven't eaten meat ever since.
Wow.
And the idea is not to have animal protein in my body. I was never really a big red meat eater anyway. I was just pretty much white meat with chicken and fish. So I've now excluded that from my diet. So it's meatloaves and nutmegs or nut roasts and all that sort of stuff, which is good. So lost numerous pounds and feeling, and I got my energy back. So I don't know also whether my energy came back quicker because of becoming a vegan, or whether it was just the process of time. But I'd like to think it's a bit of both. And
and I'm sure it is. I'm sure it helped.
Yeah. So that's that.
Okay. So so gin is vegan, is it?
It is allegedly. I do treat myself to the gin the occasional Friday. But just one thing before, if we finish on this, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I went and 3 months ago got tested and still had antibodies, which pleased me. And then last week I went and donated blood plasma. I got a call to see whether I'd be willing to donate blood plasma because they want plasma for COVID sufferers. I went to Luton and donated blood plasma, which was good, and just got a letter back yesterday to say I've still got plenty of antibodies in my system, which is good to hear.
Oh, that's good.
Well, may they remain.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's you making the news, which is incredible to see you and to see you looking so well. personally from me is wonderful. I don't know about other people. They might not think it's wonderful, but I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, we got some haters.
I did say we went back a long way. So, so moving on, I had started to put a plan together for my local heroes for you. Well, that's obviously out of the window. Everything is out of the window.
Yeah. In fact, I must email. I've got to put my list here. I must email the Grove because we have got a date of 16th of April next year earmarked, but sadly that's going to have to be postponed.
Yeah.
Not that we have. By the way, we've been besieged with nominations.
I would imagine.
You can imagine the nominations bag is just full.
Yeah,
absolutely. It would be the best ever. It would be a roller coaster of emotions again, better than ever. But we're going to park it hopefully to the latter part of next year.
Yeah.
And thing. But the other thing, because obviously what we need is yourself, because you've got very involved with me the last time, is we need people to sponsor it and dig deep in their pockets and to knock on businesses' doors now and ask for sponsorship is going to be very difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. I find that wherever I go, and I don't think it's just me.
Yeah.
I do believe it's everybody is having the same issues. It has been a very, very difficult time. So totally finishing with COVID, or if only we could. What would be your message now? The last interview I did, I said, and now that we're coming out of the pandemic, and now I'm saying the opposite. It obviously is getting worse, and it is quite worrying again. What would be your message to people?
Do all the things you're told to do, and doing all the washing hands, keeping space, keeping distance, wearing a mask. I wear a mask continually all the time, even when I don't have to wear one. I'm wearing one because I don't know whether I've got antibodies, so hopefully I can't get it again at the moment. However, I don't know whether I could be a carrier. So I'm very conscious about that. It's just doing all the things and just respecting it. And what really frustrates me more than anything else is these these conspiracy theories, and the government's got its own remit, and trying to take control, and there isn't a virus and it's just a bad case of the flu. My God, point any of them to me, I'll tell them in no uncertain terms. I've had flu 1,000 times in my life. Do you know what I mean? This was I was hit by a steam train. Do you know what I mean? It was just awful.
Yeah. Okay.
But also I don't want to be a scaremonger either. And there is light at the end of the tunnel. Lots and lots of people are getting it with very minimal symptoms. I didn't have any underlying symptoms as such, health-wise, but I've always suffered with a bad chest. Do you know what I mean? When I've had a chest infection, I had it for ages. Do you know what I mean? And obviously, I'm carrying a few more pounds than I should. So being overweight was probably one of the other tick boxes that thing. But I caught mine at a networking meeting. Do you know what I mean? So I think it was probably 2 weeks before. I got it before it was the last BNI meeting that we had in Watford, and one of the other members, who I shan't name, came in and sat next to me on our round table. And I don't know, were you there?
Yes, I was.
And I had a rant at the end of the meeting because a few people came in were complaining about not being well, up all night sweating, and the lady that sat next to me said, "Does anyone know where I can get tested? I think I've got it." And I think, what are you doing here? And that was about Friday. So the 6th, probably about the 10th of March, 12th of March, or something like that, because that's when sort of 10 days later was Boris's announcement, and then the next day was when I sort of came down with it. So I got it from people not respecting space, and maybe we, in hindsight, should have been having network meetings at that point either, sort of thing. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's my thing, to just respect what everyone's saying, keep your distance, don't be complacent. because complacency is I think the killer here. People saying they're going to be okay, people thinking they're completely immune to it and they're invincible or whatever. I'm still washing washing my hands. Every time I touch something, I've got my old cleaner out and doing my bits and pieces. So that's my message. Maybe longer than you wanted to say, but
that's absolutely fine. It's absolutely fine. And if it just helps one person, then it's worth it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely worth it. You did sound
getting paid per word today, didn't you?
Did I mention pay? I'm sure I didn't. If I'm not getting any, you're not getting any.
Indeed.
So I attended that networking meeting with you, and then I attended the quiz.
Oh, right, okay.
The next day, but that was the last time I left my house until the 1st of August. I didn't leave on the 1st of August. I left on the 6th of August because I couldn't take the hair any longer. I had to get to the hairdressers. But that was the first time that I left. But I was fine. But I'd had the letter. I knew I was shielding.
Did you not even go to the park or into the street or anything?
No, nothing.
Wow.
No, nothing. Wow. And it was great. I just baked.
How was your mental health?
Brilliant, actually. Absolutely brilliant. Because we spent a lot of time. My husband took the decision to shield with me to protect me. He didn't have to shield, but he took that decision. So we were locked away together. So it was, great.
I came out of it the other side.
Absolutely. But so we went through all the old music, all the old memories. We sang. I danced. Well, I called it dancing. He said it really wasn't. But so we just got through it in that way.
No COVID babies coming now.
Yes, I can't afford any more. We have 6 now. I can't afford any more. So, but that was how we got through it. And I just thought, this is just so awful for everybody. It wasn't awful for us because we were enjoying the time together. But
the other thing that helped me was that house party, that app, which is a bit like Zoom, and half a dozen of us sort of went on that in the evenings during lockdown and played. You can play games together on it. It's all things. So me and Mike Cole, Malcolm Topping, Mark Rapper, and some others, we were doing that. So that helped keep the sanity as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I went through the whole list of Netflix. I'm sure most people did. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've watched some pretty awful programs. And then apparently I've watched them because I've been told they were brilliant, and that's when you realise that perhaps you're getting a little bit old.
Did you watch Contagion through it? Contagion or Contagion, whatever it's called.
Oh, haven't seen that one.
All right, it's about a virus. It's so spooky because it's so like what we're going through today. So it's spooky. It's quite spooky. It's scary because it's so real life, like what's happening currently.
Yeah.
So
I'll look for that one then. I've virtually run out now, so I need to. Although Netflix have just put their new list out for October, so that might be all right.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Sorry. My last little bit now. So there it is. Nothing that I wasn't expecting. Really, really brings it home though when it's somebody you know, and just how horrendous it was for the NHS staff. We knew it was horrendous for them, but we have it there from Nik, just how bad it was. We know how difficult it was for all the local charities, the extra work they were having to do, finding ways of continuing to provide their services when they couldn't have anybody in the building, they couldn't have their staff in. And we were really lucky that the COVID-19 appeal was able to help them to do what they were doing. What we're now finding is that there's even more demand on their services. And even now, they still need our help. So they are responding. They're responding to unprecedented requests for help from people across our town. And they need our support to make sure that that vital work can continue. If any of you would like to help your local community, you can volunteer or you can make donations. If you wanted to make a donation to the Watford Helps COVID-19 Charities Appeal, we at W3RT ensure that the charity's vital work continues as we emerge from the pandemic and move into the next wave. 100% of the donation you make goes directly to our local charities through the CVS, which is where local charities go to for support. Please text Watford to 70970 to donate £5 or 70191 to donate £10. And check out the website for the stories from charities and people benefiting from your donations. watfordcovidappeal.org. Thank you, Nick. Thank you for sharing your story, your journey with us. And thank you for listening. Bye.